Is the iPhone 16e doomed after just one day? We're going to talk about a fair bit today. This is the normal part of the video where I'd say, I'm David, this is D Talking Tech, and here we talk about Apple intelligently. And today it's really important that you remember that part that we're going to talk about Apple intelligently. Away from all the shouting, the screaming, the rhetoric, we're just going to talk through, hopefully reasonably calmly, the 16e and see if we can't throw a little bit of light on it. Now, I've taken the night to make this video. I could have done a reaction yesterday. Well, I made a short yesterday, but I didn't want to make a full video until I'd had some time to think about it. It's easy just to go and read spec sheets, but that's not what we're going to do here. There'll be some details, because I think that's important to the context of video. But basically, we're just going to talk things through. So it's something very different today. There's going to be no B-roll. I'm sure you know what the 16e looks like. If you want to go and find pictures of the 16e, you can. This is literally, I wasn't even thinking about doing this as a live stream, but I wanted to do it as recorded video because I want to read your comments and get involved with you. And hopefully you will. Now, I'm going to start with a name. This isn't me sitting here saying everything Apple does is brilliant, but I'm clearly passionate about Apple. That's why I started the channel. But I think it's equally important to be honest. So the name is odd. 16e. From my point of view, that means that when the 17s come out in a few months' time, we're still going to have the 16e on sale, which will make it sound like an old phone. For my logic, I think it would be better if they stayed with the SE moniker and kept it calling the SE4. I think it was going to be called. Would have made more sense, I would have thought. But anyway, the name is odd. 16e doesn't even roll off the tongue particularly nicely, but that's what we've got, and it's not actually that important. Now, the first thing to remember here is this phone was built to a price point. And that is really crucial. We understand that. Apple have pitched it in at £599. And it's important that we remember that this phone, in Apple's eyes, is built for a particular demographic. They would have had an avatar of somebody in mind that this phone was for. And that person isn't us. We're tech nerds. We're geeks. Just like you, I love reading through the latest specs of what these phones have got, what they can do. And I think I use my 16 Pro Max quite hard and use a lot of its features. But that's not who this 16e is for. And it's important that we bear that in mind as we go through the course of this video. And do forgive me, there'll be occasions when I do look down at the iPad and just read some notes because I've really just come to camera today just to get this thing out to have a discussion with you. Now, of course, the Apple were very, as Apple have been over the past year, they were pushing the fact that this phone is Apple Intelligence ready. Let's talk about that elephant in the room. Apple Intelligence and AI. Is it something we're being pushed into wanting as opposed to actually needing? On a daily basis, I don't think I use AI at all. I'll use it during the course of the week. I'll use it for searching for hashtags for the back end of these videos, maybe for descriptions for these videos. I use it a little bit in Photoshop, but I'm not a massive AI user. And a lot of people that I speak to aren't, across different ages. Sort of from 25, 30 up to my age group, people seem to be fairly reticent or hesitant in how much they're using AI. So I don't know if this whole AI thing is just one big tech-wide marketing game just to get us to buy new phones. Is it that important to you? And does it matter to you that Apple Intelligence isn't actually ready yet? No. Apple Intelligence is a mess. Apple Intelligence, rather, is a mess. The way it's been released, the way they're trying to bring it out to the public, it has been a real shambles. Out of the Apple Intelligence features that I've tried, visual intelligence isn't bad. It works more often than it doesn't. And cleanup is actually pretty good. Don't know if it's necessarily as good as Samsung, but for the kind of product shots I'm normally doing, or shots when I'm in London, just want to move one person in the background from behind me, it actually works pretty well. The writing tools, unfortunately, really poor. I'd been hoping to use those. I don't know if you know or not, but I write a lot. I'm a blogger. You can find me on Medium. And I'd hoped the writing tools were going to come to my rescue, but they're not particularly good. And summaries are a complete pain in the neck. And I'm probably going to turn those off on the Macs because I'm not using all that much at all. ChatGPT is clumsy. I asked it the other day, a very simple question, the best way to hard boil an egg. Yeah, that's my life. And it went to ChatGPT. Now, I thought that would have been done on device. It went to ChatGPT, and in honesty, the reaction time was quick and the information it gave me was accurate. But again, I'm just wondering if we're being force-fed AI as this tool that we're supposed to want but don't actually need. Now, I've seen that haters have been out in force on Apple overnight, on Twitter and on YouTube. As I haven't read anything or looked at any videos, I wanted this to be and hopefully it's coming across as my thoughts on the whole process. When people come down hard on Apple, it's important to remember that it's an aspirational brand, and they built themselves up over many years to get to that point. They're very smart in what they've done. It's been years in the making, and it's similar, say, to Rolex, to Cartier, to Rolls-Royce, to Ferrari. Are they necessarily always the best at what they do? Probably not. But they're brands that we want, and that is the same, exactly the same with Apple. They started the smartphone trend. Without Apple and the iPhone, who knows where the smartphone industry would be now, but I reckon there's a good chance it wouldn't be as advanced as it currently is. Now, again, I mentioned a moment ago that we're tech geeks. We care about specifications. The person that's buying this phone probably won't care how much storage it's got. They won't, I'm not meaning this to put anyone down. It's just not the bag they're into. Probably storage isn't important to them, as long as the phone switches on, works, and can take pictures. Does it matter then? It can't take ProRes video? Probably not. Does it matter it can't record 4K at 120? Probably not. They just want to get their phone out and take some nice pictures of their family, of their kids, of their holidays, wherever they happen to be, the food on the table, average stuff. And this phone will more than do that. Now, let's just have a look at the price point here, because that is really important that we get some context. And the headlines I'm seeing, certainly people seem to be getting that the price is where this phone is driven at a price point. So the 16 Pro is £999 with 128 gigs. These are all with 128 gigs. The iPhone 15 is £699, and the iPhone 16e, I hate saying that, is £599. So roughly half the price of the 16 Pro. Don't forget the current phone. And we're going to look at various performance markers through the course of this video to see what Apple have actually given us for that money, and if it goes anywhere near to representing value for money. And we'll come back to the question at the beginning about, is the iPhone 16 doomed or not, right towards the end. The battery performance. Now, when Apple Silicon came out a few years ago, it increased the performance on our laptops and on my iPad, for instance, enormously. Apple Silicon changed everything for performance, what we were able to do on the laptops, but also the battery life as well. And I think the same is going to be true with the iPhones. Now, Apple have really played down the fact that this has got the C1 Apple modem in it. It's their first ever device, the first ever iPhone with their own modem in it. And why are they doing that? Clearly, they want to bring everything in-house under one roof. They've got Apple Silicon. If they can start to make their own modems, they are suddenly in control of the whole shooting match. And that's really important to them. I think because of performance as much, I think we've seen how far Apple Silicon has improved performance. And I think if they can get their own modems to come in-house and perform alongside their own silicon, who knows where battery life is going to go. But just looking at the battery lives they're quoting on their, so we are going to look at spec sheets briefly, just for context. The iPhone 16e gets 26 hours of video playback compared to the 16 Pro. And don't forget, this is the Pro I'm talking about, 27 hours, just 1 hour less of playback at half the price. It gets 5 hours more audio playback than the 16 Pro at half the price. It's important to remember this is a £600 phone as opposed to a £1,000 phone, so approximately half the price. Now let's have a look at some of the specs on this phone. You get a 6.1-inch Retina OLED display. Yes, it's only 60 Hz. Now I know I'm going to get some comments about this, and I'm willing to put it out there. I don't really notice or care about the 120 Hz versus 60 Hz argument. I don't spend all my life scrolling, and importantly, I don't game. So quite possibly, I'm not the target audience for 120. I've got it on my iPhone, I've got it on my iPad. They're lovely displays, they're lovely screens. But when I pick up the iPad mini, do I really honestly notice it? Not so much. And again, the people that are going to buy this phone probably won't know what 60 or 120 is. Not put down, they just won't. It's not that important. And again, it is an OLED display. Let's not forget that Apple's displays are some of the best out there. And an OLED Retina display, and I haven't used anything that's not a Retina display in a long time, it's just quality. It's got the current chip in it. So they haven't used an old chip. They've used the current A18 chip. It's got the same CPU cores as the 16 Pro, 2 less GPU cores than the 16, and only 1 less GPU core than the iPhone 15, which is £100 more, I think we said. Got the same 16-core neural engine in it. Camera-wise, yes, it's got one camera. as I've said, the people that are buying this phone are going to want to just take pictures of food in restaurants, kids on the beach, holidays, cars. They just want it basically to use it to take snaps. It will do fine. It's a 48 megapixel camera. It's got a 1.6 aperture, and it's the same lens that you get on the iPhone 15, which, as I said, is £100 more. It records Dolby Vision up to 60 frames per second, and it's got a raft of safety features on there as well. Crash detection, emergency SOS, features like that Apple have worked hard to bring to their devices. Hopefully we don't need to use them that often, but they're there. And also, it's got Face ID now. Again, it's easy to say that Apple have sold us short on this phone. Everyone was saying, oh, I hope the phone gets Face ID. They give us Face ID and it suddenly played down. Well, that was a long time coming. At least it's there. I think now that was the last of the devices that relied on Finger ID. Oh, my iPad mini clearly still got that. But I think it's after the phones that has now gone away from any Finger IDs. So all the phones are now on Face ID. You've got the same audio mix features that I've got on my 16 Pro Max, ones that you can clean up all the audio noise behind you and so on if you're out recording in the street. And it's got virtually exactly the same front-facing camera as my 16 Pro Max as well. Okay, I think the only difference is it can't record 4K 60 on the front-facing camera. But other than that, the selfie camera is about the same. You get exactly the same audio call features, exact same video call features, exactly the same audio playback features, and exactly the same video playback features as all of the other iPhone 16s that are currently out. What are you missing? Dynamic Island. Peak brightness is only 1,200 nits, peak HDR brightness. And okay, there's no cinematic mode or action mode for the cameras. But again, the people that are going to use this, it's not that important. And you could argue, well, it's on Android phones. Equally, I'd say it might be on there, but it doesn't mean people are going to use it. Just because it's there, it doesn't make it value for money. So, is the iPhone 16e doomed? By that, I meant, and hopefully you'll see it wasn't a clickbait title at all. It's a discussion I wanted to have with you with this video, something very, very different, I know. We're kind of at peak smartphone. So no matter what Apple had released yesterday, would it have been good enough? What would you have wanted from the phone that wasn't there? Was it just 120? But again, remember who this phone is for. It might not be for you. There's a very good chance if you're watching this video and you're subscribed to this channel that you like me are a tech nerd, and it does matter. But the people that this phone is for who just want to walk into a shop and pick up a phone, that kind of argument doesn't hold weight. Now, let me just come off of Apple for a minute and look at Samsung. They recently released some phones. And in fact, I'll try and link it somewhere. I make a podcast called Minus 16 with two other guys, Alex Given Tech and Daniel Tech with Benefits. Both are Samsung users. We talked about this a lot on the last episode of our podcast. If you want to sort of hear more about it, check that out. Minus 16 is the podcast. But Samsung released these phones and they'd taken all sorts of heat, saying that it was iterative improvements. There wasn't much in the way of improvement year on year. That's the thing, year on year. Most people aren't changing their phones year on year. And in defense for Samsung, from what I understand, they've got better displays, better battery life, and some camera improvements. They sound like decent improvements to me. I haven't got any beef at all with Samsung. Samsung users, I've always said I happen to use iPhone because I started with it years ago. I'm in the Apple ecosystem. I kind of know how it works, and it suits me and what I do. Because I spend most of my life on a Mac and editing, the iPhone works perfectly well for me. Even though it might not have all of the AI and Apple technology and artificial intelligence out there, it works just fine for me. So in fairness, what could Apple have delivered yesterday that meant they wouldn't have taken so much heat from all of the haters out there? I don't know. It's kind of a case of damned if they do, damned if they don't at this point. They've delivered a phone that was built to a price point, and I think they've done it pretty well, to be honest with you. But I'll be interested to know your thoughts. The whole idea of this video was just to get your thoughts on what happened yesterday and the state of Apple's phones, and also what you're looking forward to, say, with the iPhone Air, if that comes out later this year, what you're looking forward to with the iPhone 17s when they come out this year. I will be getting I think pre-orders are tomorrow as I sit recording this. I'm going to order a 16E and I'll be reviewing it on the channel. So this is what I'm supposed to say. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Look, if you've enjoyed this video, it's very different to my other videos, but you can tell I'm passionate about wanting to bring these videos to you quickly. If you've enjoyed this video, a subscription really does help, and it would mean a lot to me. It really would. And again, if you've enjoyed this video, I'm going to leave another video at the end for you to click on so you can watch some more of my content. It just helps. The main thing I want to do is just leave you with that discussion, though. What could Apple have done yesterday What could they have done any better yesterday? And is the iPhone doomed just because it was an Apple release? If another manufacturer brought out a phone with all of these features on it at this price, would that have been considered a success? That's the question I'm going to leave you with. Thanks for watching this. I hope it's not too rambly, and I'll be back very soon with more normal content. I'll see you soon.